Well, here we are, just 2 weeks away from Katie Taylor's big night in New York, where she takes on Amanda Serrano for her undisputed lightweight title. I'm joined today by promoter of the fight, Jake Paul, and also manager of Amanda, Katie Taylor's opponent. So, Jake, first of all, welcome. Thank you for taking the call. How are things going stateside, and preparations going well, I imagine?
Yeah, everything's going well. We're counting down the days here till April 30th. I'm just as excited as everyone else, but Amanda's, been looking great in camp. She was out in Puerto Rico, got to see a little bit of her sparring, and, she's looking as electric as ever. So, this fight just continues to get bigger and continues to get me more excited.
Tell me, you've struck up a relationship with Amanda, and I know you fought on the same card. Was that all it was? Was it just a chance meeting, and you just took to her cause, and you decided to help out and get involved? Could you just give us a bit of background about your relationship with Amanda?
Yeah, look, it was the stars aligning, and she was on the same card as me for my first professional fight. Met her then. I guess it would be back in 2020. And, since then, she's always, been a name of people that we would like to have on the undercards. And that's exactly what happened against the first fight with Tyron Woodley, and really wanted to help push women's boxing forward as a part of my undercards. And then when Nikisa and I started Most Valuable Promotions, we thought of Amanda as a great first person to sign because of how well we got along with her and how big of a star she is. She just needed a spotlight to be put onto her. And she's one of the greatest fighters ever. So, she's one of the most valuable fighters, hence Most Valuable Promotion. So it made perfect sense to sign her. And everything since that has been amazing. And we've been able to, secure this massive fight with Katie Taylor for her. I guess I look at Amanda as a sister, and we've both, sort of helped each other over the past couple of years grow in the sport, and we're there to always push each other, which is pretty awesome.
And I'm certainly not going to dispute your assertion that she's one of the greatest fighters out there. She's a 7-weight world champion. She's a phenomenal athlete, and she's a phenomenal fighter. She's a real front foot, aggressive style fighter. She's taking on Katie Taylor, who, of course, is the darling of Ireland. She's an Olympic champion. She's a great person, a great fighter, a great champion. What do you know about Katie, and what do you think of what she's done in the game?
I think Katie's awesome. Just meeting her, she's such a nice person. And, you would never think of her to be, this vicious fighter. And what she's been able to accomplish and how she's been able to push women's boxing forward, I commend her so much. And she's a superstar, and that's why this fight is actually so exciting. But I have only good things to say about Katie Taylor, and respect everything that she's done in her career.
So let's get your, give me your boxing brain here. How do you see the fight going? Do you see it a tight contest? Do you see a clear favorite in it?
For me, I'm a little bit biased, right? But I take a look at Katie Taylor versus Persoon, and how Persoon had that relentless pressure coming forward, and it was a lot for Katie Taylor. And I think it put a lot of miles on her boxing odometer. And the difference is between Persoon and Serrano is Amanda goes to the body more. Persoon was head hunting, and it gave Katie a lot of troubles, and arguably some of those rounds should have gone the opposite way. So I think what we're going to see here is a very similar matchup stylistically, except Amanda's going to, be able to slow Katie down a little bit more. And obviously Katie's going to try and stay in the outside, stick and move, and use her speed to keep Amanda off of her. But I just don't think she's going to be able to do that the whole entire fight. And I think the early rounds will go to Katie, and then I think Amanda's going to come on in the latter half of the fight.
Obviously, Katie's got that amateur pedigree, that she really is a classy boxer. But she's also, we've, as you said, with the Pursuing fight, and I think she made amends more with the second fight. We saw a better version of Katie in the second Pursuing fight. I suppose, do you think, Katie will fight her own fight, or will she get dragged into Amanda's style of fighting?
Well, the best thing that she could do is fight her own fight, and stick to her game plan and not get sucked into Amanda's game plan. And then the same goes for Amanda of not getting sucked into Katie's boxing. She's a true boxer, on the outside, moving around, and that comes from her, like you said, their amateur pedigree. So they both are going to have to find, that place of controlling the fight and controlling what's going on. And I think whoever does that first is going to be the winner of the fight.
We also, I suppose, we can go back to Cindy's fight against Katie, and I think that was a very easy fight for Katie. She sort of played into her hands a bit, but I suppose Cindy and Amanda, sisters they may be, but styles completely opposite. Would you agree with that? So it's going to be a completely different fight.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think they're two different animals, and I think we're catching Amanda Serrano in her prime. I think quite literally this fight will be the best Amanda Serrano that we may ever get out of her whole entire career. And for that reason alone, this is extremely exciting. But, with Amanda's sister, she got sucked into Katie's game plan. And so I think it's a good learning lesson. But, just because the sister loses doesn't mean Amanda's going to lose. It's the same with Logan versus KSI, right? KSI beat Logan, but if I were to fight KSI, it would be, it would be murder. So you can't take that and give it any credibility.
Let's talk about your fight career in just a few minutes. I just want to ask you about Eddie Hearn. I suppose is co-promoting, is that the correct term for it? He really seems to like you, to work with you. He said you were a breath of fresh air in the boxing game, and just the way you work and the way you operate. What's your relationship like with Eddie? He's a character.
No, it's great, and I think we work well together, interestingly enough. And I think there's more fights for us to promote together down the road, because we set a record with the most or second most pre-sales of Madison Square Garden history. And this fight is going to do a massive number of pay-per-view buys. And so I think the formula that we have going on is great. And Eddie's been awesome to be, next to and working alongside of. And we sort of bring in and are ushering in this new way to promote fights together.
And let's just talk about the venue, the city of New York, a one-time home of boxing, I suppose. And perhaps Vegas took over that mantle over recent years. It's more the home of boxing now, but New York still has a special feeling to New York for boxing. Do you expect a full house at the Madison Square Garden, so such an iconic arena for such an important fight?
Yeah, it'll be sold out for sure, and it's the first ever time women are headlining a fight in Madison Square Garden, which in and of itself is absolutely iconic and will go down in the history books.
Great stuff. I suppose, Jake, you're known for a lot of things, but when I Google your name, it comes up professional boxer. That's what's coming up. And is that the way you like to see yourself described now? Considering, I suppose you've proven yourself a few times now that you can, look after yourself in the ring, and you can even deliver that knockout blow, I suppose.
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome that that's what it says when people Google me, because it used to say like YouTuber or something, and it's just not who I am anymore. So definitely pretty funny. And yeah, that's what I am, whether people want to accept that or not.
And I know you're talking about an August fight. How are you looking at that? Is that something that's going to happen? If so, I suppose camp would be starting soon enough. And have you any opponents in mind? Anyone you'd like to call out even, I suppose?
Yeah, looking at an August fight date, and camp will definitely be starting soon, shortly thereafter the Amanda Serrano fight. And there's a lot of names on the list. We're looking for someone with that star power. And we're talking to people, you know, the conversations are active, but I've never had an opponent that matches my star power in the ring. And, you know, that's really what I'm looking for, because I'm tired of carrying all of these promotions and doing all the work myself. So just looking to see who that opponent is going to be.
Obviously, the Fury name would be a huge name in boxing, and you know the Tommy Fury fight was threatened for so long. Is that a possibility?
It's definitely a possibility. Look, but you know, he pulled out of the fight last time, barely did any promotion. You know, his brother was the one posting all of the videos to promote the fight. His dad promoted the fight more than him. And so when we're looking at opponents, you know, what intrigues us, he's lower on the list due to his, you know, lack of being able to promote fights. You know, I think he's fighting on his brother's undercard, you know, coming up shortly here. And it's like, we haven't heard anything about it. The only reason we know about that is from boxing Twitter, but Tommy hasn't posted any content. He hasn't done anything to hype the fight up. So he's just terrible at promoting fights. And that's a turn off for me and my team, and for wanting this next fight to be massive.
Tony Bellew, I'm not sure if you've encountered Tony. He works a lot with Eddie Hearn on he does the punditry for the Zone. Former world champion at cruiserweight. He's had a lot to say, I suppose, about your involvement in the game. But he did say he would like to see you fight a boxer. You know, he wasn't saying you need to fight, you know, the best out there, but just a good seasoned pro who would, you know, give you a really good test of your boxing attributes. Would that be fair?
Yeah, look, I mean, I've only been doing this for 2 years, so people need to be somewhat patient. You know, everyone wants me to go and fight the heavyweight champion of the world because they want to see me lose. You know, I'm continuing to raise my level of opposition with each fight. And for me, it's not just about the sport, right? People are like, oh, fight a real boxer, I have a duty to sell pay-per-views and to sell a lot of pay-per-views. And there's not that many boxers that have that level of star power where we can create a massive event and make it exciting for me, you know? So I'm not just going to be fighting journeymen like Tommy Fury or some of these other guys. I can't go and fight trash cans because I have a fiduciary duty to my partners and my media partners to sell a lot of pay-per-views. And for that reason, we need big names. And, you know, we'll see. We'll see. I'll fight real boxers eventually, 100%. But I don't know if that's next, or I don't know if it's 2 fights from now. But really, I could do whatever I want. So that's the beauty of it.
Obviously, you're linked with a little matchup with Mike Tyson, and you weren't dismissing it, I suppose. You seem to get on well with Mike. Would you tempt him into any sort of even an exhibition type of arrangement?
Yeah, I would fight Mike. I think that'd be a really good fight, a big fight, and something different. You know, it's the new generation of boxing versus the old generation of boxing. So I think there's you know, something interesting there for sure. What
about your relationship with Shane Mosley? Is that still ongoing, or have you? I know you're friends with Ryan Garcia, who had another win there over the weekend. You seem to be embedded in the boxing fraternity. So do you have good advice, I suppose? Because, you know, you need, you know, it's a dangerous sport as well. So you need good people telling you what's going on.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I'm surrounded by boxers, talking to boxers all the time. And, you know, I'm living, breathing, eating, and sleeping it. And I've immersed myself extremely into the sport, and have really, really experienced professionals and coaches around me. And you know, chatting with all sorts of different world champions, you know, the younger, newer generation of people coming in. I talked to Devin Haney a lot, Cambosos, Garcia, you know, Benavidez. I'm been going back and forth with him on DMs, the Charlos. So have a lot of support from many different fighters, which is awesome.
And just in terms of your interest in the fight game, who would be your favorite boxers at the moment, or even of recent history? And would there be any Irish guys that you would have admired over the years?
You know, for me, my favorite, like my top 3 right now. I mean, it'd be tough to say, but I think, yeah, Benavidez, Garcia, and probably Haney are my top three up there. And as far as Irish boxers go, you know, I wanna fight Conor McGregor, who's 0-1 as a boxer, but I think he's scared.
But is that really a thing? Because would McGregor not be just too small for you? Like, you know, in that sense, would he? You know, he'd be what, welterweight at his heaviest, probably, would he?
Yeah, I mean, he fought in the UFC multiple times at 170 pounds, and I can cut to 175. So, you know, we can make that happen. And we're roughly the same size. He's walking around at 190, 195. I walk around at 193, 194. So we're really the same weight.
So you think Conor McGregor that's something you might actually pursue, is it?
Yeah, I'm ready whenever. You know, that's an easy fight for me. As crazy as that sounds, you know, it's true. So let's get it on. It's a big money fight. You know, I think the Irish people would love to see it. And as long as Daddy Dana can let him out of his contract, you know, a lot of these guys are owned. They're not their own boss, unfortunately, like I am. So they have to just listen to their dad. And if Dana lets him out of the contract, let's get it done. Because, again, that's probably one of the biggest fights you can make in combat sports right now. And, you know, that fight does easily 2 to 3 million pay-per-view buys.
And would that have to be in the ring rather than the cage, or would
I'll fight him anywhere?
Really?
I'll fight him anywhere. You know, he's on such a decline, and he has no motivation to train anymore. I don't know why he still even wants to fight, but I would make light work of him, whether it was in MMA or boxing or in a street fight or whatever the fuck it is. I'd beat him in basketball, football, soccer. I would beat Conor McGregor at anything in life.
And let's finish off on a light note. Speaking of football or soccer, you know, Ireland have a habit of calling it soccer as well because we've got Gaelic football. But we all saw you tweeting yesterday your opinions on the Manchester City Liverpool match, and you caused a bit of a stir in England. They're quite snobbish about their football, their terminology, and their, you know, people commenting on it. They want you to use the right phrases and stuff. Did you get any humor out of all that?
Yeah, I saw people roasting me, which is funny. I loved it. You know, it's just funny, and it's fun to join those conversations because it's unexpected. You know, people don't expect me to be talking. So I saw all the memes, which are great. But getting more into football / soccer, and it's exciting. So I'm starting to watch more games. I'm starting to become more educated on it, and it's slowly growing on me.
Great stuff. Look, I know your time is busy. It's just last thing about the fight in New York. We're coming over for it in 2 weeks' time. I suppose it's such an important fight for women's fighting, for women's boxing. From your own perspective, is it important that your larger than life character maybe takes a back seat and lets the fight really take center stage? Yeah,
no, for sure. I've definitely, you know, tried to, you know, take a back seat and let the ladies shine, and, you know, be more of a promoter, be more of like a professional, which has been different, you know, because I'm used to just promoting my own fights and I have my way of going about that. But, you know, promoting someone else's fight is definitely a more chill, professional side of Jake that we see.
Great stuff, Jake. Listen, it's been a privilege and a pleasure. I hope to catch up with you in New York in a couple of weeks' time, and I'm really looking forward to the whole experience, and I look forward to seeing it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.